when we first started on the thing. Yeah, man. It's the little salad bowl thing that you see on the internet.
Oh, yeah. We thought about doing that.
But you opted for something real instead. Mm-hmm. This is going to be easier because Colette's not here, but I'm so sad that she's not, because you guys are what we aspire to be. You know? Okay. Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 13 of From the Van. It's a podcast from my van, where I have conversations with people who have relationships with residential vehicles. Today's episode features Jess and Mike. They're a super rad and multi-talented couple that I've been hoping to get on the podcast for a while, and though I've seen them at various van life hangs and whatnot, they're pretty hard to nail down because they are constantly traveling. These guys are all over the place, and as such, they have a bunch of really cool stories. I hope that you enjoy my conversation with Jess and Mike as episode 13 of From the Van. You guys living full-time in the van for 2 years now?
Yes.
We have.
Yeah. Tell me about that. How is it? Do you need a beer?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay.
I got a drink here. Yeah.
I can't drink beer.
Oh.
Celiac.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jake is too.
Yeah.
That's rough. I'm sorry. So tell me about your van.
So the current van, actually this is our second van, is a 2017 Sprinter. It's a 4x4 on the 144 wheelbase. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's pretty like royal blue.
It is blue, yes. Yeah, we've actually only ever looked at two vans, and we bought them both. So the first time we were building a van in Baltimore, we didn't know where to start. We went out to the dealer, and they had this one. It was used, a couple years old. It was their loaner vehicle. And we took a look at it, and we said, yeah, sure, let's buy it. And so we bought that one. It was blue, same color.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then when we got into an accident, we needed another van. We walked into the dealership, and they had another blue van. We said, all right, we'll take that one too.
So I want to get into the accident, because I know very cursorily about this through friends.
Sure.
But first, do you think that you've only looked at two vans and you've bought them both because you're super lucky, or because you're like unnecessarily giddy? You're like, let's fucking do this.
Yeah, I think the second time around we were lucky.
Yeah.
The first time we just said, why not? Like the first time I felt like we were throwing everything to the wind. We were like talking about quitting our jobs and moving out of the house and just doing. We were like, so what? Just buy a van. It's like one more thing just to throw up in the air. So that was the plan there.
Cool.
And it was a pretty good deal. I mean, 30,000 miles. It was 3 years old for like 30 grand or something like that.
It was a Sprinter too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you smashed it.
We didn't smash
We had
it.
some
Oh,
help.
yeah.
I heard Elk did.
Yeah. How'd that go down?
Yeah, so
Where were you?
We were in Idaho. We were leaving Big Sky, Montana for ski season, going to Sun Valley for the next mountain to hit on the pass, and just trying to get there and to meet up with actually some other van life friends to go skiing the next day. And we're like, oh, you know what? We could get there. So we decided to drive at night through open country, which we didn't really realize how much of a risk that was. And a herd of elk went perpendicular across the road while we were driving about 50, 60 miles an hour. It didn't actually stop the van or make the airbags go off, but one of the elk came through the windshield and one hit the side. Yeah.
What the? So you hit one and one hit you.
Yeah.
First one hit us, took our side mirror off. I mean, all this happened in a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
So I was like driving along, like, oh, there goes the mirror, and then boom, there was one rolling up the hood.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it came through the windshield?
No.
It like compressed in.
Yeah. And then it rolled off the side, and
then that one died.
Instantly.
Yeah. And we did not get the meat, because everybody asked us, oh, did you get the meat? And we're like, fuck no. Like, our home just was wrecked. You think I want to go, like, skin an animal? No. Yeah, so we had some good people around us, including Kristen, Barefoot Theory, and Joe from Permanent Road Trip, and they kind of helped us that week kind of get our head straight.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Because it totaled the van.
It totaled the van, and we were out in the middle of nowhere, so insurance actually didn't even come and look at it. They just scrapped it. Wow. Yeah, they just said it's over. And so we had to disassemble the van. We took out everything. I mean, the windows, we took out drawer glides.
Into what? A U-Haul or something?
Yeah, into a
minivan, and then we had to go get a ProMaster rental through Enterprise Fleet. We had to drive to Boise, and then we put everything from the minivan into a storage unit and then into the rental transit.
Yeah.
And then somebody tagged us in a post on Instagram, and they said, hey, this van was ordered last summer. It just came in, and the guy who ordered it doesn't want it anymore. And it's in, where is it? Billings, Montana.
Yeah.
8 hours away. So we slept in the front seats in wintertime with no heat in this
gnarly,
and just like blankets over our head. We're like, okay, let's just go.
Yeah. So we didn't sleep much, and by like 4 a.m, we're like, let's just drive.
Go.
So we pulled into this place in Billings in mid morning.
Yeah.
And we walked in and we said, hey, we heard you have a Sprinter here for sale. And he's like, yeah, we do. And you want to check it out? And then like 2 minutes later, some other guy walked in asking about the same vehicle. He was probably there to buy it as well. So we like beat him by just minutes.
So you did get lucky.
Yeah.
Kudos
that
to
was
crowdsourcing.
And so then, we were like, okay, well, let's do the paperwork and let's see what we can do. It's 4x4, so we're like way too expensive. Like automatically that adds like 15 grand to a van. But it was blue and like you smiled for the first time in a week, and I was like, God damn it. So we ran the paperwork, and while we're like running on the paperwork, I'm like, just let that other guy test drive it, because I feel bad that he came all the way here.
It was a younger kid.
Yeah, it was a younger guy.
Because he had been like looking at Sprinters for months, and he like kept coming into this dealership, and they knew him, and we felt bad. Like we were sitting there for hours filling out the paperwork, and he was still like sitting there like waiting to see what would happen. And we were like, all right, before we sign, let him take a test drive, let him have it. And so, but then ultimately
it ended up being like a little bit more per month than our old van, so that's why we went for it.
And did you, all the stuff that you had pulled out of the other van, did you put it right back into this one?
Yep.
So, because it was a 140.
No, the old one was larger.
It was larger.
So what I learned from ripping apart that old van was that I built it kind of all wrong, and that
I look at this van every day and I'm like, that should be over there.
So no, but like it was like when it came time to remove things, the first time I built it, like you have your wall of your van, and I would use an L bracket and I would put something on there, and then I would build off of that and build off of that, build off of that. So when it came time to take it out, it would have been like disassembling it piece by piece. So now I built it more like furniture. So the kitchen, if I need to, I can just take out like 6 screws and the whole thing lifts out. And that's true for most of the build. The toilet comes out the same way, the bed comes out the same way, the bench, everything is in theory much more easily,
a lot more modular.
Yeah, I can move it out.
Yeah.
The only I built this with a circular saw and a jigsaw.
That's how we built our first
and
one.
A drill.
In a parking lot.
Like I didn't have
a straight edge
table saw or a straight edge, and so like everything's not square. But the one clever thing that I did is all of these anchor spots that you see are riv nuts.
Yeah.
And so they're female machine screw anchors. When I get an opportunity to sit down at a actual workshop, and I'm going to rebuild everything.
Are you
really?
really?
Sell it. Yeah, that's the plan. It's because I could sell it right now, but if I built cabinets that made it look like something that people would repost on Instagram, it would sell for more money.
Sure.
But the cool thing is, you were talking about the Instagram, the Instant Pot, the seatbelt. The wonderful thing about that and like this drying strap is that we're able to just back out the thing, put the strap in to see if it works, and we're going in and out of the same hole over and over again. So
that's actually smart.
You don't have to put sheet metal screws in there every time.
Yeah.
Let's take a couple of steps back. Where are you guys from?
We used to live in Baltimore.
Okay.
And that's where I was living there for about 5 years.
Did you
been
grow up there
for about 10 years.
No. So there you go.
I grew up in Texas by Galveston Island on the beach, and when I was 16, my family moved to Minnesota, and I stayed to finish school. So I went to undergrad and graduate school in Minnesota. Moved out to Baltimore to do my postdoc, and that's where I met him.
Yeah, and I grew up in suburbs of Philadelphia, went to school in Philly, and then I spent 10 years in Baltimore. Okay. And then then we all decided to quit our jobs and hit the road.
Yeah. How long have you guys been together?
6 years.
Yeah. Okay. 6 years this summer.
Married for 3.
Right on. And what's your doctorate in?
Biochemistry.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing right now? I know you're freaking traveling like mad people,
so
super busy.
I mean, when I hit the road, I was continuing on what I had been doing as a career. So I started out doing freelance science consulting. So what that means is I help companies or PR agencies translate science into something that the public can understand. So I've been doing that for the past 2 years in a consulting capacity. And then along the way, Instagram gives you opportunities to create content for brands. And then also I started the Vanlife App. So that is an application on your phone that helps the community connect with each other and to resources.
Right. And what's your role there now?
Co-founder and C.O.O.
Okay.
So we are right now just learning how to get better and make a better app. Yeah.
Sure. Cool. What are you up to, Mike? We'll talk more about the Vanlife App because I got questions about that.
Sure.
So before we were in the van, I have a background in architecture, so that's where I spent most of my working career was in architecture or office interiors and that kind of stuff. But on my 30th birthday, I actually kind of took a look at big things, and I said, I got into architecture because I like to draw and design, and I like the visual aesthetic of things. And I realized I was drifting away from that. So on my 30th birthday, I sat down and I said, I'm going to start sketching. I got a sketchbook, and I said, I want to draw every day. Doesn't matter what it is or where I am. I just want to create some kind of a record and draw more and more and more. So I did that for 5 years, and then it kind of came time for us to start building a van and talk about living on the road. And I said, you know what? Let me take this art to another level. I'll start to make a business out of it. I'll sell prints. I'll sell originals. I'll, kind of call myself an artist. It took me a while to actually even say that, like say, hey, I'm an artist. And I'm still not super comfortable with it, but
fuck that, dude.
True.
Because your Instagram is, the thing that's so mesmerizing about your Instagram is that you'll take a picture of a completely, like, just sort of benign, boring, like, image.
Right.
A lot of times, some of the stuff you draw is
Sure.
super cute, right, to begin with, but you make it look better than it did in real life. Some of the times. It's drawn dot there, right?
Yes.
And the general format is the pictures in front of
the
of
place.
some banal scene, but the image that the caricature that you've done of it is very often so much cooler than what you took a picture of.
And I mean, that's I get so much more out of it. So for one, it's like, they call it open eye meditation. So I'm just like sitting there for an hour staring at a wall of rocks or something, and you kind of get immersed into it. And it also drives us to go to these new cool places. If we're driving down the road, I'm like, all right, we're gonna make a detour this way. I heard about this old abandoned ghost town or something. We're gonna go there, check that out. And then I just love it. And then it's called Drawn There, so I am drawn to these places and I draw there, so it's drawn there.
Well, and if you can draw a super interesting picture of everybody's small little barbecue, then you don't really have to, you can sort of do it anywhere you need.
Oh yeah. Right.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Where do you see that going?
I would love to compile it into a book. So part of what I really enjoy doing is drawing the images, but also telling the story behind it and the history or the factoids about, like you said, a grill. So that classic Weber grill was created by a guy who was originally making buoys. He was in a metal fabricating plant, and they were making buoys for the Coast Guard. And he had these like round metal forms. He was like, you know what? I think he took it home one weekend, and he messed around with some charcoal. And he's like, all right, this works. Put some holes here, and he revolutionized backyard grilling. Yeah. And like that story is also what I want to tell through the art and through the words.
I don't want a coffee table at this point, but I do want that coffee table.
There you go.
Well, and not to shit on the Weber grill, because that's a very elegantly designed thing.
It is, but it's I mean, it's nothing special. It's black. It's round.
But nobody knows that story.
Yeah, right.
That's super
and then
rad.
I'm also working on a children's book.
Okay.
And I'm just like Jess was saying, we kind of just say yes to whatever comes our way, and we'll see what's next.
You got your hands in like 50 different things at this point. What's up with Startup Week? That was this week.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah. So I'm running a business, but I don't know anything about business, right? So I went to learn more about how to do business right and how to get better, and So we are trying to raise money right now to make the app better, which is the situation we're in right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's describe the Vanlife app for anybody who doesn't know what it is. It's sort of like your normal geotagging app, but it also has a social media aspect, which is sort of the thing that makes it unusual.
Yeah, right? And so, we've been on the road for quite a while, and we learned pretty quickly that you get lonely out here. And so I found myself seeking out these gatherings, and Brianne, who has been hosting bi-monthly gatherings here on Fiesta Island for the last 2 years, we decided we would team up and try and solve these problems that almost everybody in the community has. The difficulty finding a safe place to park, difficulty finding people to connect with. And so we thought, there are a lot of other apps out there, but not one that solves all of these problems in one place. So what we're trying to do is build a database that users give reviews on and like share their information with the community so that we can all help each other out.
Right.
Yeah, so with the app, you can find, places to shower, places to go to the bathroom. You can see who's nearby. You can also see gatherings on it. And everything is, with the intent of leaving no trace and kind of environment first is our mission. And so, we're not just the geotagging platform. We're trying to make it sustainable both for the environment and for people.
Sure.
Because it's hard out here. It's not an easy life, and it might look glamorous on Instagram, but, at the end of the day, we're shitting in a bucket. So...
I'm not. I don't have enough space for a bucket in here. Every once in a while I have a panicked moment where I need to get into some bar where I might have to buy a drink, and that's okay.
Slap a 20 down and be like, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Without getting too deep into the weeds about the Vanlife app, it seems like there are some pretty serious challenges, and I want to know what the thinking and the theory is behind the Vanlife app, because you can have access to it as if it were Yelp for van life for free.
Yeah.
Without paying.
Right.
But there's a function on there where you can connect with people who are in a certain radius of you.
Right.
You could choose that and stuff, and it doesn't tell you exactly where anybody is.
Right.
But
by design.
It gives you an option to reach out to people, and if they want to, they can respond to you and help you out with a place to park or whatever. But it seems like it's sort of slow to be populated right now. What are the next steps in terms of, because I feel like I live in Encinitas full time.
Yeah.
And everything except for San Elijo Campground and the Jolly Clean Giant, which is our local laundromat, I added literally everything in Encinitas to the map.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah, but my question is like, what? I've been talking to Colette and my other friends about this, and the thing that keeps coming up to us is like gamifying the system.
Yes.
If you could provide an incentive, whether it's free membership for people who populate a certain number of things or whatever, what are you thinking is coming up?
Yeah, so that is definitely on the list of things to do.
Okay.
So I guess one of the things is, we started a tech company and we're not tech people. And so we kind of are on this learning curve of like, how do we make all these things happen for the amount of money that we have right now? So we've already put over $100,000 into development of the app. And it's expensive to make these apps. And so what we're trying to do next is, one, there's going to be a gamification thing, but we want to do overhaul of UX UI, which is user experience and user interface. So it's like just a more seamless login process.
Sure, it's a little slow to load.
Yes, it's very slow to load right now. We want to have an email sign up so you don't have to use Instagram. We had originally chosen Instagram just because the whole community was already there. So we thought that wouldn't be a problem, but it turns out that not everybody wants to use that. Which
especially
is
people who are trying to check out of a lot of the tethers to modern society.
Right. And that wasn't our design, was not to get that's not the point. Like we just wanted
to mine people's
data. We just wanted to get the information. I don't know. Yeah. So we're going to put the email login. We're going to, right now we're tapped into a few APIs through Google, like the campgrounds and the the Pilot Flying J's. And I think those APIs are slowing down the loading time. So that's the other thing that we're going to try and make better, is that loading time. There's some caching things that are, we have to kind of get around legality stuff. So then it's like lawyer fees, right? Then you're paying for a lawyer to make sure that you're doing this all in the up and up.
What a waste of money.
Well, you know what I learned this week? A good lawyer is expensive, but a bad lawyer is really, really expensive.
I'm an attorney and I won't let you pay me. Because I don't want to be a good lawyer.
Yeah, so we also want to improve... just a lot of things. I mean, you should see my list of things. Like, we're taking feedback from the community. Every time you open the app, you can shake it and then put in little feedback. So everything people are saying, we're cataloging and making sure that we can implement into the next iterations. Yeah, even like notifications, so that when someone sends you a message and they're nearby you, you won't miss it. So that way it'll push through your phone, and that actually is a very expensive feature to develop into an app. And then pictures, we want to make sure people can post pictures of the places they're at.
Sure.
It's also going to be web-based as well.
Eventually, that is another expensive issue.
So you can pull it up on your computer.
Yeah, so it was coded with the Ionic platform, which allows it to be across Apple, Android, and the web. So I guess we're kind of debating on if we want to go native on any of those channels. This is getting really technical, but... yeah, there's a lot of decisions to be made, and money is really like the one holdup of us making all of these really, really big, great changes quickly.
Sure.
Yeah. So you were saying so there is the model is a premium a freemium model. So you can download it. It's for free to download it and get all those other features that every other app has. And then the community part is the novel thing about it. So that's what we're using to help subsidize the development.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Where are people? Because every once in a while, I open the app, and I go to a city that I kind of want to visit.
Yeah.
And I don't really see folks.
Yeah.
Are all the people who are joined are in Southern California?
This is really opening
Coastal
up another
California?
hole that we have in our business,
Right.
and that is that we spent all of our money on the front end.
Okay.
So our back end is pretty weak.
Can't advertise and stuff. Is that what you mean? Or
No, I mean, like, I don't even have access to that data right now.
oh.
Yeah,
I see.
it's so weak that like I can't even
don't know.
answer that question.
Uh-huh.
So that's like we need a full stack dev person to come in and help us.
Right.
So we're hiring. If anybody wants to come join us. But yeah, so I mean, the back end is a big weakness for us right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, talk to me about your personal travel. First of all, did you do something so that you can break the elk instead of the elk breaking you next time?
Coming tomorrow or the next day. So we are in the yesterday I had the bumper off the van. The whole front bumper was taken off because I thought we were going to be receiving a new bumper in the mail.
Yes.
It didn't come. So it's scheduled to come for Monday, which is 2 days from now. So we are, and even
Just in time for us to get back to Idaho.
yeah. So we built this van a year ago, and we told ourselves we are not going to go anywhere until we get a big cow pushing bumper
Beefy.
up front.
Yeah.
Right. And so it took us a year to finally get there, but now finally we're getting a new bumper. And still, I mean, it wouldn't help. I mean, it helps a little bit. Ultimately, we don't drive at night. We don't definitely don't drive through open country at night. There's one road that goes to the Grand Canyon. It's to the South Rim.
Oh my God, those
And there's
elk are so
giant
big.
elk just lining the road.
With big antlers.
So we saw them during the day, and we're like, this freaks us out. We had to drive out at night, and I
Because we
think
had just finished the
we were
hike.
You're going 20 miles
we were
an hour.
doing
Oh,
30.
my God.
We were getting,
Oh,
people are
we're-
doing 60.
They're
guys.
so pissed.
Oh
We're just-
no, we are not.
I was just like, I don't care. I'm going to put the flashers on. I'm going to stay to the right.
Yeah.
And that's our solution. So.
Yeah, so the guys, it's on his hat, the Backwoods Adventure Mods, they're going to be helping us out with a new bull bar on the front, and
Okay.
then some cool like toolboxes on the back.
Cool.
Yeah, we're stoked about that extra storage space, honestly.
Yeah, rad.
Yeah.
We've actually thought about, obviously upgrading the van, but if we don't, getting a little box or something that can open with the barn door.
Because you have a box on the roof now, right?
No, we're
you
like
don't?
completely covered in solar. Like we can't do anything else on top.
Yeah.
We think about getting a little vestibule or awning or something, but that's like the furthest that we can take it.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we're totally covered in solar. Where have you guys been traveling? What's the program? What's the agenda?
everywhere.
yeah.
So on average, we drive about 2 hours a day. Over the last 2 years, like Google Maps sends us like a monthly like timeline of where we've been, and every month it says you've spent 60 hours in a vehicle.
It's so crazy. No matter what like our schedules look like or what's going on or if we're here or there, consistently we drive 60 hours a month. So so it's always, we're always moving. We rarely stay more than 2 nights in one place. And so right now after this, we're headed to Wyoming and Idaho.
Hell yeah.
For the Vanlife
We're going to
gathering?
be in Seattle by 4th of July, back to Idaho, and then we got to book it to Joshua Tree for
his birthday
for
party.
my birthday,
When is your birthday?
July 28th.
It's gonna be hot.
I know.
So
we're staying at a house with some friends.
It's like a joint
Okay.
birthday party, and
With a
they
pool
are
and air
renting a
conditioning.
house.
Yeah.
So we'll
So
be set
Vinny
there.
will be fine.
Yeah. And then Burning Man at the end of the summer. So that always wraps up our summer.
I still haven't done that.
You're missing out.
You like it?
Yeah, it'll be our 4th year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I feel like every year I either have the money or the time to go, and never both at the same
Right.
year.
You gotta commit. Just put it on the credit card.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
I'll
There's too much on the credit card right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So why are you traveling? Just because you can, or are you doing it for because you need to? Is that? Well, I mean, part of your job as a C.O.O of the Vanlife App is that you probably ought to be going out and like caching like locations and shit, right?
Oh, I mean, yeah. Every day I add locations.
Yeah,
Everywhere
yeah.
I camp,
Cool.
I add where I'm camping, and I put a review on it, and yeah, every time. And honestly, I had been doing it on the beta version for so long, and then it was like wiped, and I was like, no.
Oh god.
Oh, rough.
So
I
like
didn't
I
know.
still have some back cataloged on my Google Maps that I have to transfer
Uh-huh.
over, but yeah. It's like remembering was there cell service there? I'm like, I can't remember. So, sometimes you got to be there to put the location in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been out of the country?
Yeah, we've been to Whistler.
We did a
which
weekend
is-
in Whistler.
Yeah.
BC. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're going to go to Baja next January.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so yeah, we've done 47 states so far, and we've done almost 24 national parks.
I'm
and
guessing just not Alaska.
Alaska, Hawaii, and Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah.
And this is for the van, not for personal.
Right. But
Yeah.
so we do feel like we're coming to not the end of our U.S. journey, but it is something we've talked about where we would want to go next, and if we want to ship the van to Australia or Europe or do something like that, that's certainly been discussed. We don't know what's going to happen yet, but
I would imagine that the app has those same sort of like ambitions, right? In terms of
So we do want
getting
to
to Germany or
expand.
whatever.
Honestly, we need lawyers to help us expand.
Yeah, sure.
And we're just working on the app right now.
Just
So
trying to
until
make it
we can get everything right, then
Mm-hmm.
we'll kind of push to put the money into those expansions.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, Colette and she actually has dual citizenship with the U.S. and Italy.
Italy.
Oh.
And so we're constantly like, hey, we'll sell this van and just not buy another one and go across
Go across the pond.
Yeah, so
Across the
we did the
pond.
math, and I was like, I looked in the price to ship our van to Hawaii. It's just like just see what it costs, and it's a lot of money, especially there one way and then back again.
It
Like
was
what?
like $5,000
$5,000 one
Each
one
way?
Yeah.
for a giant van.
And it's
I mean,
'cause
this
we're
is
double
small.
height and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
We don't even fit in a shipping container.
But so then I did the math. I was like, well, $10,000 could get you a nice Airbnb for months over
Or just
there,
a brand
you
new
know?
van.
Yeah. So
Like a used van, but brand new to you.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we don't know. Or like van swaps. We've considered that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's someone in Europe who wants to come here and do the same
I would
thing.
definitely van swap.
Yeah. I don't trust people to drive our van.
We drive like grannies.
Yeah.
Me too. It's so funny you're talking about driving out of the Grand Canyon, and my joke is like when I hear a horn behind me, I don't know what it is, but my accelerator just stops working. I don't know, the van just stops going.
Yeah.
It's
So
like,
you have a rear view camera?
yeah, but it only works when I'm in reverse,
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
so I
Okay.
can't see behind me.
Really? Because we have the same. Oh, yours is fancier than ours.
Well, we can rig ours up to and just press a few buttons and the camera's always on.
Yeah.
You know, I bought this van under questionable circumstances. I went and did a comedy festival in New York last year, and I was like researching all the like mid and small size vans, and I was sort of like, I think it's the Metris, but I don't see them anywhere
Yeah.
because they
Yeah,
just came to
they're
the U.S.
relatively
in
new.
2016.
Yeah.
And then I went over to New York, and this is like the biggest van that will also fit in a garage.
Yeah.
And so they're everywhere there
Oh.
because that's pretty important there.
Yeah.
And I kept seeing them, and I was like, "Fuck, man, I think this is the van." And I came back and found one. It had come over from Hawaii, and the rear view mirror is supposed to be mounted in the headliner up there.
Up
yeah,
there,
right
yeah.
there.
That's pretty
And-
low. Yeah.
And this is like the cheapest aftermarket rear like backup camera thing that they could
Okay.
do. And I bought the van, and like 2 months later, the rear camera went out.
Oh, really?
So I went to some guy over here, and I was like down in Claremont or something. And I was like, "What can you fix this for?" And can I get the all-time
Yeah.
right.
rear view on? And he's like, "Yeah, but not for this price point."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Fuck it, I don't."
So you use
Guess I
the video comes up in the rear view mirror
On the
not-
side of the rear view
Yeah,
mirror.
our video comes up here.
Yeah.
My way more high tech than you.
Yeah.
No, I asked him about that too, and he's like, "Yeah, that's gonna cost a lot." Of
Yeah.
money." But the thing is, it's hilarious to me that I even have a rear view mirror because there's no
There's
windows.
no- yeah.
back
I just
here.
saw a van over there, and he took his mirror off. It just sits up on his dashboard, but because there's a video
It's a
on
shaving
Yeah.
mirror now.
it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, lays
Yeah.
it down. Yeah, it's mainly focused at me because I'm a narcissist. You know, I don't have to.
Yeah, you gotta check yourself out. Sure.
What else, guys? Tell me a story.
What do you got?
Stories.
What about? We got stories for everything. Give us a topic.
How'd you meet?
On a bike.
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So go.
All right, so we were both living in Baltimore at the time, and I worked like 2 miles from where I lived, and she worked about 2 miles in the other direction from where she lived.
Okay.
And so we biked all the time for our main transportation. I had a car, but it just sat
My
most of
car
the
was
time.
dead.
So we would bike all around the
Yeah.
city. And there was this one night in July, on a Wednesday, July 10th.
That's fucking cute, by the way.
I was out with some friends downtown at this bar district, and they showed movies out on the pier. So I was watching a movie, and that was my night. And then Jess, she was out at burrito night. Burrito night.
$2 Natty Bows.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Burrito. Natty Bow.
So Natty Bo is a Baltimore beer.
Oh.
and-
National Bohemian.
National
Okay.
Bohemian.
It's not good.
So they would go to a certain bar and they'd call it burrito.
Uh-huh.
Buy a beer and a burrito or something like that.
Yeah.
So our nights,
Before I
we're
knew I was
both in this
celiac.
like bar district, and we both decided to head back to where we lived at the same time.
On a weird road. We both took a strange road that night.
So yeah, we both were on a Alisana would be the better road to ride on. We were both on Fleet Street. I don't know why, but I was riding along and I passed this hot blonde on a bike. And
Yeah.
It was like 10 o'clock
Did
at
you
night.
recognize her at this point? Had
I'd
you
never
seen
met
her
her.
around before?
no,
never
we'd never
met
met
her.
each
You
other,
guys
which
don't
is
know each other
weird
at
because
all at this
Baltimore
point.
is nicknamed
It's
Smaltimore.
pretty small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I passed her and I was like, oh, hold on, I gotta say hi to this girl. So I slowed down, she caught up, and I just said hi, and she said I had a very trustworthy beard. I
was
think she was
drunk.
nervous or drunk or
drunk.
something. It doesn't make any sense. But we just started chatting, and we rode together for we only had like maybe another half mile to go. And I missed my turn. I was like distracted, and I gave her my number, and then we went out on a date 2 days later. It turned out we lived 2 blocks apart from each
Yep.
other. Never even knew it.
Yeah. And I just bought the house. I bought the house like 2 months before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't have met you if I didn't buy that house.
Right. So yeah,
Yeah.
we met. We went on a date. And
Yeah, that was that.
We also went on a date on bikes again.
Yep.
So she was like, "Oh, meet me at this bar." I was like, "I'm gonna ride there." She's like, "I'll ride there too." So
I
we
mean,
both
that's how
rode
you
our
get
bikes.
around in the city.
She on their first date, it rained.
God.
We were in a bar or something.
I'm wearing a
It was
dress.
kind of a wet, rainy night, and we were leaving the last place, and we were like, "All right, let's head back." And she hit a trolley tracks in the middle of the cobblestone street, and she went down.
You did
And
it on purpose, didn't you?
It was the first time I've fallen in a decade. Like, I've never
she
fallen off the bike.
Was
damsel in distress.
And like I turned back, I was like,
Oh,
what
no.
was that? And she was so mad. I was like, I'm not getting near this. And she was like,
fine.
yeah. She was like, I'm fine. And she like
Yeah.
stormed off. And
I didn't storm off. We rode bikes home.
yeah.
But I didn't want to talk about it.
No, she didn't. No. But yeah, that was how we met.
Yeah.
And then
That's so fucking
3
hot, you guys.
3 years later, or 2 years later, I decided I was going to let's get married. So I bought a ring, and we had a tradition of riding our bikes again from our neighborhood Canton up to Hamden. It was maybe a 45-minute bike ride.
Uphill.
All uphill. But
Oh my God.
they do this really great Christmas display. Christmas
On
lights
34th
on
Street.
34th Street in Hamden, and they go all out. They shut down the street. So it was like our tradition to ride up there. And I said this will be a good chance for me to propose, because I like, again, this is going backwards, but we're not really religious people, but I like to observe the equinox and the solstice, and it's just at least a thing to acknowledge. So it was the winter solstice, and I said, let's go right up here. And while she was sleeping on the sofa that afternoon, I went out in the street and I wrote, "Will you marry me?" in sidewalk chalk, really big in the middle of the street, at about the spot where we met on our first bike ride. So we rode up to saw the lights, came back, and then there it was written in the street.
Yeah. But then I was like, why are we going down Fleet Street? And I was like, something is up. He's like, let's go this way. And I'm like, why would we take Fleet Street? It's longer.
Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
the story.
But that was a pretty romantic proposal. Yeah. Everyone in my office, I was working in DC at the time, and they were like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Everyone was freaking out. Yeah.
How'd you get down to DC from Baltimore?
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
She would take the train every day.
Yeah. So I took the train. It was 2 hours each way,
Okay.
and then did that for a couple years, and then they started pushing me to Manhattan. So then I would commute to Manhattan on the train
Oh wow.
from Baltimore.
That's far.
It's 2 hours each way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, on the
Really?
Acela,
That's that
on the
close.
speed train.
Oh, it's the fast one.
Yeah, on the speed train. And when you go that often, you take the Acela.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then ultimately, she started working from home more,
Yep.
and it was like 3 days a week, maybe 4 days a week, and then we were like, this could transition to a van, you know, this job.
Yeah, I was like, I could do this from anywhere.
Well,
Right.
but, so whose idea was it? Like, how did you end up in a van? Were either of you, were you like on board both together from the beginning?
Yeah, so we did a 6-day backcountry backpacking trip through the Tetons 3 years ago now, something like that. And it's all because we didn't get tickets to Burning Man, but we had already taken the time off of work, so we're like, what do we do? So then we went to this backpacking thing, and the day we get into town, we go to get the permits for the trip, and we see this like amazing van for sale, and it's like $120,000. We're like, that's ridiculous. Like that's the price of a house. And we're like, but a pretty cheap house, right? Like affordable house. And so we started kicking the idea around for the next 6 days while we're backpacking. And by the time we got out and back to Baltimore, we were like, all right, let's start looking for a van. And then we saw that one at the dealership and we said, let's do it. And we did it. And then we spent the next 6 months figuring out how to tell our families, how to quit our jobs, how to make sure we make money on the road. And
did you reach resistance from your family?
Yes, still. Every time I talk to my mom, she says, have you looked at properties? She's like, you love San Diego. And I'm like, you got $1 million to give me? Because I do not have that kind of money. Yeah.
That's a struggle. It's so curious, especially with all of these municipalities struggling so hard to prohibit vehicular habitation. I actually, and this is the reason that I gushed when you told me that you met on a bike, is that my primary function in this world is being an equity and transportation activist. And I spent 8 years, before I bought this van, I was 8 years without a car, living in Southern California. And my joke used to be, and it was only halfway a joke because I used it in practice, is that even when I had a car back in the day, I would meet a woman that I wanted to go on a date with. And the first date, I would pick her up, like the traditional, like misogynistic, patriarchal thing, and I'd go and buy her dinner and stuff, and then the next date was either on the bus or on a bicycle, because you have to prove your mettle to me.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's real easy to find a woman that's attractive enough. It's real hard to find one that you can tolerate. I'm sure that works the other way.
Right.
And
it has similar values.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like, can you hang with me?
Right.
Like, you're a pretty person, but there are lots of those, you know? Like, can you hang with
You've
me?
been in SoCal too long.
Are we good? It's so funny. So, Colette, she's so rad in terms of just, like, bending with everything and, like, and, like, she's so innovative in the ways that she thinks. She was a little, like, not into the van in the beginning, but then once she saw what it could be, she's really helped, like, imagine so many of the things that actually work in here. Yeah, and so, but, I love that you guys.
And I mean, all the way that we've been together, our house was a row house in Baltimore, so it's 11 feet wide. I mean, it's just barely wider than this van.
Okay. But like long, like a shotgun?
Yeah, like a shotgun house, and then like a upstairs and a basement.
That's a lot of house.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 900 square feet or something.
2 bedroom, 1 bath.
Yeah, and not huge. So every house I've ever moved into, I would joke with him, I'm like, I've never lived in a house so small.
Our houses have gotten smaller over the past
over the
2
past
decades.
2 decades. Every single house has been smaller.
But you just fill that shit up,
yeah, exactly. It's like the goldfish. You grow to the size of your tank.
Yeah. I got so excited, like, after being in here, I moved all my stuff into a storage unit. I would sit around in the van half drunk going, I just get so excited about getting rid of a pair of pants.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need that shit.
Yeah.
You know? And we're gonna have to find a place for your coffee table book. But on the transportation thing, I just finished this book about parking policy. And it's so curious to me that, because I've been to both of these hearings about the vehicular habitation prohibition that they're trying to get to pass constitutional muster in town here, and all of the quote-unquote problems associated with vehicular habitation are like theoretical potential problems that could be a symptom of any asshole living in any sort of situation, on a boat, in a house, in a car, in a tiny house, whatever else. Like, there are litter bugs that on every stripe of the political socioeconomic spectrum, right? And what's crazy is that we have such a glut of free parking that the free market, which all the conservatives who are upset with people staying in vans champion as the primary like driver of innovation, it adapted, and people were like, there's not enough housing and there's too much car housing. We're going to turn the car housing into people housing.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like you're welcome, you know?
Yeah.
We didn't when I moved into my van, I increased the housing stock in Encinitas. You know what I mean? There's another affordable dwelling unit in Encinitas because I live in a van now. And that's just not the way that people...
Good way to look at it.
That's not the way that people look at it.
Yeah.
And it's so funny meeting that just institutional dogma and the conventional wisdom that it's like an automobile is not for living in. And so, are your parents still in Texas?
Yes, they were in LA for about a decade.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So after
you said Galveston, that's like hot and muggy and swampy.
Yeah, so we went from there to Minnesota, and they lasted about a year or two before they were like, no, this is not for us. My dad got another job out at Medtronic.
Okay.
And so they were working out there for about a decade and just retired recently back to Texas. My mom always wanted a big ranch house on...
Are they in the same zone?
No, they're up north of Dallas now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's a nice place to go visit.
I know that area. The fried chicken is overrated. North of Dallas. It's not that good. And are your folks still in Pennsylvania?
Yep.
Okay. How do they feel about the van?
They've always just said, as long as you're happy,
it's okay.
It's one of those things. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. You share your location with your dad.
Yeah, so he's tracking my phone. He says he doesn't check it that much. So
but he does.
He'll
call him, or he'll text and be like, "Oh, the weather's supposed to be great in Reno." We're like, "We're not even there yet. How do you know?" Like, we just pulled into town.
Full blown stalking.
Yeah, but that's okay. It's good to let them know that we're doing well.
That's cool. Well, talk to me. We can't leave the dog out. We have a beautiful little guest right here.
This is Vinny.
Vinny had a moment this week.
He did. So Vinny's 15, and he eats fancy food, and we couldn't find it at one of these places we drove through town. And so we picked up some fancy food he used to eat the brand of. And I don't know if this is the reason he got sick, but he got really sick, coming out both ends for like 3 nights in a row. And it wasn't during the day. He was fine during the day. So we were like, okay, he's getting better. And then at night he would tank again. So, I mean, he was pretty bad. I mean, he lost 1 pound and he was super dehydrated.
That's a pound's a lot for that guy.
Yeah, it's 20%.
Yeah.
So we brought him into the emergency vet, and they gave him some fluids, some antiemetics, and some other tummy stuff. And
you just got him on the old
antibiotics.
Food, or?
We threw the food away, and we got him back onto rice and pumpkin and chicken and just something bland and neutral for his tummy. But yeah, he's 15. He's got 1 tooth. Can't hear. But he's still got a ton of energy.
And he's super rad. He's a sweet dude.
Yeah.
He got along with Spin super well.
Yeah.
My Colette's mom has a dog that reminds me of Vinny, and she's fine with Spin, but the other Chihuahua is like in his shit.
Oh yeah, he's super chill. Most people are like, he's a Chihuahua? He doesn't act like most Chihuahuas. Yeah.
Cool. So what else? You guys want to plug something?
I mean,
you're Van.there.
Van there.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
And you're drawn.there.
Yep.
That's
I'm gonna do that again.
Matchy.
Well, so he had it first, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, what do I name the Van account? And he's like, I'm drawn there. You could be Van there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's how it happened.
Yeah. For plugs, I sell stuff on Etsy. So check out.
How do we get there?
Etsy.com, and then just go to search the shop Drawn There.
Drawn There.
Or just drawnthere.com.
DrawnThere.com is another way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do, because I can't remember what this account is called, but it's super cute, and I think this is something else I thought about earlier, but like, architects have my favorite handwriting. You know, it's like almost graffiti, you know? Yeah. I love that shit. That's just an aside.
So actually, this children's book I'm working on, I'm going to be hand lettering the whole text. Yeah,
that's super cool. What's it about?
So it's an interesting concept where, have you been to Denver? And you know the big blue bear that stands outside the convention center?
No.
It's like a 30-foot blue bear sculpture, public art kind of thing. and it's looking into the window of the convention center. It's really kind of a cool
These
thing.
big glass windows.
And so a woman in Denver wrote a children's book story poem, all rhymes, about this bear coming down out of the mountains and looking for his place. And she teamed up with the owner of the bear, the artist's wife, and they teamed up, and they had seen that I drew this thing online. I had already drawn it before. And they said, here's an artist who has already done this. We really like him. Let's reach out. So they contacted me, and the project's going to fit really well with what I enjoy doing. So next month, or this month, I'll be flying to Denver and doing like a 3-day walking tour of these specific sites. And like as the bear comes into the library,
other like
all around the
landmarks
city,
and
the
stuff.
Red Rocks Amphitheater, crossing the Platte River, all this kind of stuff. So it'll be a 32-page book about this bear walking through Denver. So
that's super cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Right, that's awesome.
Hopefully on shelves before Christmas. That's the
Okay.
plan. Yeah.
Righteous. Good deal. Well, thanks you. for
Yeah,
sitting down
thanks,
with me.
Marty.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Well,
You were
now-
recording, right? Yeah. Double check.
Oh, we got to start back over again.
All right, guys. That was episode 13 featuring Jess and Mike. I had a really good time chatting with these guys, and I hope to run into them on the road. I recommend that you follow them both on Instagram at van.there for Jess and drawn.there for Mike. Oh, and also, you should go on Instagram and follow From the Van. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you so much if you've hung on listening this long. And there'll be a new episode for you next week on Tuesday. Bye-bye.